Welcome, NEC fans, and thank you for joining us as we recognize our student athletes and the diversity, equity, and inclusion within our conference. My name is Adrian Barajas, and I'm the Communications Assistant at the NEC. I would like to thank the two student athletes for joining us today and offering to share their ideas and experiences around identity, allyship, and unity. Let's start by going around the room and introducing ourselves, sharing our name, school, sport, and any additional identities.
Hi, my name's Aaliyah Walker. I'm on the track team at Central Connecticut State University, and I'm currently a senior.
Hi, my name is Julia Zebak. I'm a water polo player at Long Island University, and I'm also a senior.
Awesome, thanks for sharing. So I want to open up this discussion about exploring some identities. Do you guys, I don't expect you to have an exact definition, but to the best of your ability, what does intersectional identities mean to you? How would you describe that?
To me, intersectional identities really is just the multiple components of your identity coming together to make up who you are as a person. I feel that no one is defined by just one sole identity and that there's many different aspects that make up who you are as a person.
That's a great answer. It almost sounds better than the actual definition. um, yeah, so let's lead into the next question. That was a great answer. What are some factors of the intersecting identities that each individual can relate to? Just to start us off with one, race and ethnicity being a very popular. Aaliyah, do you have any idea? Do you have ideas of what some other intersecting identities people might relate to?
I think people can definitely relate to, just like you were saying, like race or ethnicity, kind of like how you grow up and the cultural environment that you're in can definitely play a part into kind of like those different personalities or things that you create to be kind of like you, because we all have different things that make up each other in a sense, if that makes sense. Like for me, obviously, I might have different things than Julia or than you just because of how I was raised. And
Right.
I feel like that's a big factor.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing. Julia, would you like to add on to that?
I was just going to say there's so many different intersecting identities that someone can have. For us, we have the intersecting identity as students versus athletes.
Right.
And those are parts of what make up who we are. We also have religion, background, race, culture. There are so many different aspects that make up who we are and that contribute to what we can bring to the world.
Yeah, you said it best, and kind of made the inference that the list isn't limited. You know, people are identifying themselves differently every day, and as new events and new things are happening in our lives, it's changing in how we identify ourselves, to the public. Awesome answers, I love it. So why is it important to embrace all of our intersecting identities? And do you feel that some identities are stronger than others?
I can start with that. I feel like it's very important to have different ones because, especially as a student athlete, you kind of don't want to be stuck in a phase of like a burnout. And that doesn't mean like on the track or if you're doing water polo or anything like that. It means like you're so in tune with your sport that your sport becomes your identity. You don't have that like interpersonal, it's just your sport. And I feel like a lot of athletes, especially in college, kind of it's like, oh, I'm here for track, I'm here for football, I'm here for whatever sport. But they don't realize that, what about after college? And that's kind of like where they get stuck because you're not going to be track after college. You have to have other personalities, other things to kind of like hold you up at the end of the day besides your sport.
Yeah, great answer, thanks. Julia, anything to add?
I think that was an amazing answer. Truly, that really encompassed everything. All I would say is that I completely agree. There's so much more to who you are than your sport.
Yeah.
And I think right now in this part of our lives, our sports are one of the biggest parts of our identity. We devote so much time and so much of our mental space to our sport. But afterwards, it can change. What your main identity is will be changing throughout your life. And that is okay. That is something to be embraced and to look forward to.
Awesome. Do either of you feel that there is an identity that has the strongest effect on the perspective of your own self? I don't know. Did that question get across to you guys? Okay.
This might get very personal. I'm happy to share. I
Okay.
think one
Thank
of the
you.
biggest identities that impacts who I am is I have a rare autoimmune disease. And so to me, that is something that ever since I was a kid has impacted my aspect of myself, of my aspect of what I believed I could achieve. And so to be a Div 1 athlete and have an autoimmune disease is kind of a very interesting thing. I like that there's the opportunity to break boundaries and set an example for others. And
Yeah.
so I think that was an identity I really had to overcome to get to where I am, is because there's this perceived limitation that you will have growing up when you have any form of illness, that this illness will impact you for the rest of your life and it will limit your opportunities. And so for me, that is one that has definitely defined me and has made me a more resilient person because of it.
Really appreciate you being vulnerable and sharing that with us, Julia. Thanks. And it's just so interesting, just because like the depth of all the different types of identities and struggles and that people have. Like it's just thank you for sharing. At a loss of words. Thanks, Aaliyah. Do you feel that there is an identity that shaped your story the strongest?
For me, it's a bit different. I feel like I've always had a basic, like, standard life. Like, I don't have anything that puts me apart from other people that I didn't see. So right now, kind of, I mean, it's never too late to like find, all the personalities that you could have. So right now, that's kind of what I'm doing, trying to like put myself away from track, be like more than just an athlete. That's what I like to say a lot in the SAC meetings. Because to be an athlete, you kind of have to embody everything. You can't just be, your sport. And so that's kind of what I've been like dealing with. Sometimes you struggle with like who you are because, I feel like everything I do is for track. But then you kind of have those days where you kind of just got to sit to yourself and think like, what do I really like? Because people ask all the time, like an icebreaker, like, oh, what do you like to do? And I'm just like, oh, I'm on the track team. I like to run. Even though I say I don't like to run, I do like to run. So that's just me trying to figure it out. So I really don't have one yet. I'm still finding it. And I just feel like things like this is kind of great just to talk about because like
Yeah.
people could be feeling that too.
And though you haven't found it, I wish you the best on seeking that treasure of yours. So good luck. Thank you for sharing. Do you guys feel that the presence of a specific identity that you have strengthens or weakens when you enter a different setting or environment? So like, do you feel an identity comes out stronger when, say, you're on campus versus the class, like on campus, let's say in the classroom versus like the locker room? Do you feel a specific identity maybe come to the front more than the other?
Definitely. As student athletes, you kind of have to be the face of the campus sometimes. So like when you're in the locker room, you're around your teammates, your friends, you can kind of have like more of the fun personality like that other people might not see. And in the classroom, it's more like, you're there to work. It's better to concentrate. You kind of have to have like more of a stern, like more restricted personality just because you do have to focus a lot and you can't be as, I wouldn't say as outgoing as other people that aren't on a sports team, but you really have to kind of lead by example, especially when you're in the classroom.
Awesome. Julia, how about yourself? Do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, honestly, that was a great answer. I feel
Cool. Okay, let's move into allyship. Um, how would you best describe allyship in your own eyes? What does it look like to you?
to me, allyship is working with others to achieve a common goal. It's whether that goal is educational, whether that goal is motivational. I feel that allyship is working together to teach others and to help people understand what you're working towards.
And specifically, I'm sorry, excuse me. Specifically, Julia, what do you want allyship to look like on your own campus? Do you feel you're close to getting there? Are you there already, or is it still lacking?
I feel my campus is a very inclusive community. I feel there's so many different opportunities for people to express who they are, express their identity, and to be around people that share their values. I feel that we're very inclusive, very accepting, and that allyship is present in so many different ways, whether that is by inclusion in the football field or like out on the field, or whether that is inclusion with clubs. Although there are specific cultural clubs, everyone is welcome. Everyone is welcome at all events on campus. And so to me, that really reflects the inclusion and acceptance that we have on our Long Island University campus.
Amazing. Oh, Aaliyah, how about CCSU's campus?
I think we really value like the aspect of allyship, especially I don't want to plug, but our SAC team is really good with incorporating that into kind of the campus because maybe like 2 weeks ago we had the soccer team, the women's soccer, they had their pride game. So like a lot of us went out, we supported them, and it's always super big. And then today it's Indigenous Peoples Day. We have some people on our SAC team that brought notice to that, and we wore orange today to support them. I just feel like it's just really good to be respectful of everyone, to include everyone, and it's just really great to see that everyone kind of has the same mindset on that, and that's kind of what I like about that.
Yeah, it's always great when you have the mass all on the same page and working together and being inclusive and being showing support to one another, no, understanding that we're all in this together, we're all here for a reason together. That's awesome. Could anybody share an example of a time you expressed allyship towards another individual or community or a cause? And if you can't think of a time maybe where you expressed it, can you think of a time when someone expressed it to you, where someone showed allyship towards you or a community you belong to or a cause that relates to you?
Yeah, so during the whole Black Lives Matter protests and stuff like that, Central was really good with that too. We had shirts, we had a lot of informational sessions and stuff like that. So I felt like that was really good because dealing with that, there's like a lot of negative support and there could be positive just because that is a tricky subject, especially on any campus, really, because not everyone's going to think the same. And just to have that within the student athletes to kind of show that, we're all in this together supporting one movement. And just to see that now from then and now, and we've supported so many other ones since then, is just kind of great to see that like we're not just doing it for show, we're doing it because we really want to support each other.
That's amazing. That truly is amazing. Julia, do you have an example of when you expressed allyship or someone expressed allyship towards you or to a community or cause that you relate to?
Um, Especially back in high school, a cause I was very passionate about was environmental advocacy. And um, a few of my friends started up a group called Edmonton Youth for Climate, which is the city where I grew up. And so I definitely expressed allyship to them in joining that group and helping them found it. And then it grew into a very prominent organization, and it had climate rallies and had visitors like many like Greta Thunberg come in. And so to me, that was definitely an experience of allyship, was trying to create environmental advocacy and increase awareness for different ways that people can be involved and how to better their lives.
Awesome. Thank you. And lastly, I want to move into the idea of strength and unity. So what changes would you two like to see to further unify the student body with the administrators of your school?
I feel like the administrators at my school, we kind of already have like a good relationship with them. They all come out, support us, and it's not even on like an athlete basis. It's just like even if we're dealing with things outside of sports, they're always there to support us. They're definitely like our second parents, which might seem weird because you're walking around campus, you have all these administrators, but the athletics team here is just really, really great. And I kind of love that about it. Like I could go to my coach for anything, but I can also go to Amy Strickland, I can go to Molly. Anyone who's really just supporting us, they love us like their own children, so they'll definitely take care of us. But probably more openness to like unique ideas within the community. You know, since they are like that parent figure, sometimes they might not like see things through our eyes. So maybe just more openness to other things. But besides that, everything is super great. So
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for sharing. I mean, the idea that you could have these like parents away from home, or just the idea that people are really there to take care of you as if they were your guardian or so. So that's an amazing thing to have on campus at CCSU. I mean, awesome. Thanks for sharing, Aaliyah. And Julia, is there anything that you would like to see to further unify your student body with the administrators?
I think our administrators are truly amazing. They work so hard and they are truly wonderful. They get a lot done and they are really always there for us. They're so supportive, coming out to games, taking time out of their weekends, their weeknights to spend time with us and to make sure that we're reaching our potential. One thing that I would love to see is to get to know them more as people. I would love to know more about their background, what made them want to get into administration. And although I've had the privilege of having conversations like that with our administrators, I know many, many student athletes have not. And so I feel just having more information and getting to know what their motivations are, because they're always there working to support our motivations, our goals and dreams. And I'd love to learn more about what motivated them, what got them to where they are.
Awesome. Thank you. Do you feel that or are there events on campus where that happens, where administrators and student athletes can mingle, like on CCSU or at LIU? Is there an event where you can sit down with some of your administrators or your professors and just no, right? Interesting. I mean, it could be something to bring up if you ever wanted to unite, and ever get to know them. It could be cool to just sit down 30 minutes and share a meal with all these people and get to ask them questions.
Yeah, we do a start of year and end of year barbecue, but
Oh,
that's
cool.
usually a full sport team coming in, getting some food and leaving. It's not so like there are definitely those opportunities there, but
Yeah.
I feel people just might not feel familiar with it if it's not said that that's okay, that you can talk to them and get to know them as people and not just as the administrators. So I feel that would be a great boundary to try to break.
Yeah, thank you. What does the relationship between the different athletic programs look like on your campus? Are they grouped and cliquey, or do they interact fluidly?
I think they interact very fluidly. I think it goes back to the allyship. We all kind of have this idea that, we're all running or working towards bettering our school. So the soccer team is very supportive of everyone. So is the volleyball team and football, because everyone those are like the most popular sports on campus right now because they're in season. But everyone tries to go out and supports them, which is really nice. And recently, even at the cross country meets, we've seen a lot more people come out and support, which is really great because, sometimes cross country kind of gets thrown in the back because it's always farther away or, you might not be able to catch it. But it's just really great to see other sports teams come out to games. And that might not seem like a lot, but it's kind of like, oh, wow, like I didn't know track was into volleyball or soccer. And it's just really nice. And we kind of make a point in like making signs, which is really good too.
Awesome. That is awesome. Thank you, Aaliyah, for sharing. How about you, Julia?
I feel that LIU is a very unique environment as we are split between the two campuses.
Okay.
I think that each campus definitely has their own big inclusion. I feel that at Brooklyn, all of the sport teams really do spend a lot of time supporting each other and coming out and seeing each other's games. I feel that between the two campuses, between Brooklyn and Post, especially throughout the pandemic, there were not as many opportunities for interactions between the teams. But I'm very grateful that through SAC, that is changing this year. There's going to be a lot more opportunities to support each other at other campuses and to make connections with other teams. So that inclusion is something I'm really looking forward to in the coming year.
Awesome. Thank you. Can either of you share if you're actively working for change within a community And if you aren't, do you have a plan to strengthen the unity within a community like such as your campus?
I feel like even just being here is a way to kind of strengthen your community, but also just being involved with SAC, that's like the biggest thing for me. You know, I'm secretary, so I try to make it a point to like know everyone's names, kind of,
Yeah.
you know, show that I'm someone you can come and talk to. But also with SAC, we like to do things for others and also for ourselves. That's the biggest thing too. To show people that we not only put work into you, but we put work into ourselves. And I feel like that's the biggest thing to strengthen a community because it just shows how strong you are. And that's kind of what holds it together. We also really like to give back to the outside community, since Central is kind of like inside of someone's like neighborhood. We do a lot of community cleanups. We kind of help with, you know, the schools around with like pen pals and stuff like that. And I think that's our biggest thing to strengthen the community outside, to show others that, you know, we're not just here to like invade on other people's like, you know, space. We kind of want to just help everyone, even if it's not like affiliated with us.
Amazing. Thank you. And Julia.
Some ways that I'm working to strengthen the community and to be more involved and make the community around me more inclusive is, again, through SAC. Repeating what Aaliyah said, is through SAC, we get so many opportunities to make our campus around us a better place and a better place for athletes. I feel that through the work on SAC, we're being given opportunities to increase inclusion. As she said, at CCSU, they had their Pride game, the soccer team had a Pride game. And so that's something I'm very excited for us to try to start this year, is to let people do awareness events at their games, to let people represent what they believe in. At LIU, I'm also the Chief Justice of our student government, so I'm able to make non-athletic contributions to increasing our inclusion and our diversity on campus. So I really enjoy the fact that I can elicit positive change in multiple communities around our campus to just let it be a better environment for everyone, where everyone feels they have the opportunity to succeed.
Amazing. Thank you, Julia. That's awesome. And lastly, in a time of digital media, how can we express change offline? How can we be more intentional?
I feel that you can be more intentional offline through your actions. I feel online it's very easy to get caught up in the posts and trying to make people aware of what you're doing. But I think that by doing it, by doing actions and letting the community see you're involved, and by letting people know you're there, using your words, your actions, using your voice to make a difference, offline and online, is how you're going to make positive change, how you're going to make a difference, and how you'll have a lasting impact.
I definitely agree with Julia. I feel like with the age of like social media, it's so big just to repost. And I think that's kind of how people like support, but just reposting doesn't do enough. It does a little bit, but you kind of need to have those actions to back it up to kind of show like, I'm just more than the posts that I reposted. You know, I actually want to help change.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. And that is all the time we have for today. Thank you, NEC fans, for watching and recognizing our student athletes and the diversity, equity, and inclusion within our conference. See you next time on the NEC Overtime Pod.